For 6 months, my brother requested to use my spare room. He has now taken over my entire flat, and if I expel him, my parents threaten to disown me. Hello everyone. You will be astounded by today's tale, but quickly, click the subscribe button if you like this article. Recently, the channel has been a little quiet, but your support keeps it going. Let's get started. I need to see if I'm being unreasonable because I'm 27M. My family and I have always had a close relationship. I worked hard in college, got a decent career in software development, and last year earned enough money to buy my own 2-bedroom apartment. My parents are James, 57M, and Patricia, 55F, and my younger brother is Tyler, 25M. I felt proud to reach this milestone, even if it's nothing special. Since earning his business degree, Tyler has been living with our parents and concentrating on starting his own online store. He has always been an enterprising person, and I truly respect his drive. Specialty fitness equipment is imported and sold online as part of the business. Consider yoga gear, resistance bands, and similar items. My parents invited me to join them for Sunday supper last week. Until dessert, when my mother cleared her throat in such a manner, everything appeared to be normal. That indicates that she is going to make a big request. Michael, she said, we wanted to discuss Tyler's business with you. I nodded, thinking that perhaps they needed my assistance with the website or something. What followed caught me off guard. Then my father jumped into your guest bedroom. Most of the time it's simply sitting empty, isn't it? Yes, I replied slowly. When friends come around, I use it. Perfect. However, my mother cut me off. Tyler's business needs a suitable office location. With all of his merchandise, the house is too small, and when you're first starting off, renting commercial space can be very costly. Tyler, who had been silent up until that point, leaned forward with anticipation. Mike, it would only be for a while, only until the company takes off. All I would need is space to store products and possibly put up a little desk to process orders. I was caught off guard. My apartment served as both my haven and my first significant adult accomplishment. But I could feel the same guilt seeping in as I looked at their eager expressions. For the sake of our schooling, my parents had made many sacrifices. They'd supported me during my time in college. Loans were taken out, but they are still being repaid. How short-lived is our conversation? I inquired. No more than 6 months, Tyler responded hastily. I'll make enough money by then to rent a suitable warehouse. Squeezing my hand, my mother reached across the table. We wouldn't inquire, honey, if it weren't significant. Family supports family. We've always taught you boys that. My dad gave a nod. Consider it an investment in the future of your brother. Who knows? Perhaps his company may grow to the point where he can assist you when you need it. I wanted to say that by purchasing my own place, I had already benefited myself, but I refrained. The problem is that Tyler appeared so thrilled about his business, and I do think it's important to support family. Perhaps I was hoarding space that I didn't actually need out of selfishness. Can I give it some thought? I inquired. Their expressions of disappointment were instantaneous and heartbreaking. Of course, my mother said, but her tone hinted. I had already disappointed them. However, Tyler must decide quickly. Suppliers are waiting for him. The remainder of the meal was uncomfortable. My parents kept making scathing remarks about how some people lose sight of their origins and how success is meaningless if it cannot be shared with family, and Tyler hardly ever spoke to me. I felt awful when I left. Was I really acting that irrationally? Tyler was my brother, and there was just one room. If our circumstances were reversed, I would want him to assist me. The following day, I gave them a call and consented to Tyler using the guest bedroom as an office. The delight in my mother's voice should have been audible to you. She said, I knew we raised you right. Your support of your brother makes me very proud. Tyler was overjoyed. He pledged to respect my personal space, adhere to regular work hours, and leave within 6 months. We even drafted a basic agreement that merely outlined the parameters. It was nothing formal. He would be able to enter the flat from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m., would pay me $200 a month to cover utilities, put all goods in the guest room, and use the space on weekdays for business. Last weekend, I assisted him in moving in his first inventory. It exceeded my expectations. Boxes and boxes of foam rollers, yoga mats, tension bands, and other exercise gear. Despite the fact that the guest bedroom was completely occupied, Tyler told me that he had a plan. He clarified, this is just the initial order. It will thin out as I begin moving product. I demonstrated how to operate the security system and handed him an extra key. He placed his laptop and printer on a little desk in the room's corner. I felt good about helping him get started, and it did seem quite professional. When I told my girlfriend Sarah about the plan, she became less excited. She said incredulously, "You're letting your brother operate a business out of your apartment? That's your area, Michael. You put a lot of effort into earning it." I told her that it was only temporary. Additionally, it's critical to assist family. She didn't force it, but she shook her head. "You must be aware of what you're doing." I've been in this arrangement for a week now. So far, Tyler has kept his word. He gets there at 9, works in the room quietly, and departs by 6. Sometimes I can hear him on the phone, speaking to clients or suppliers, but it doesn't really bother me because I'm at work during those times anyhow. I suppose the reason I'm posting is that I still feel like I should have given this more careful thought. However, Tyler, my brother, is working on a project. Isn't that worth a small amount of my trouble? My folks are always contacting me to tell me how pleased they are with me and how well I'm modeling family values. Am I reading too much into this? I'll get my space back in only 6 months. Who knows? Maybe in years this will be a story we chuckle about and Tyler's business will succeed. "Do you recall the time I operated my multi-million-dollar business out of your guest room?" He will say, "I sincerely hope I haven't made a mistake, but I genuinely want to be supportive." Update. After a month, a few folks messaged to inquire about how things were doing, so I thought I'd give you an update. I hope my news is better. Do you recall Tyler's assurance that it would only be the guest bedroom? That lasted for around 2 weeks. When a large cargo arrived, there were initially simply a few extra boxes in the corridor. "I'll move them as soon as I process these orders," he said. Tyler claimed that he was wasting too much time traveling back and forth between the kitchen counter, where he was packaging orders, and the inventory room until then came the packaging station. Could he just set up a small folding table in the living room? "It'll be so much more efficient," he replied. "And each night I'll fold it up." Reader, it wasn't folded up by him. Covered in those plastic air pillows, tape guns, and shipping labels, the table became a permanent fixture. Suddenly, my living room resembled a fulfillment center. However, the actual pivotal moment occurred 3 weeks ago when my parents unexpectedly arrived on a Saturday afternoon. I heard a key in the lock while I was relaxing in my pajamas on the couch, enjoying my day off. I thought it was Tyler. Get one. On a weekend, why was he here? However, my parents and an unfamiliar man entered. My mother said, "Michael," as though she was shocked to see me in her own house. I pulled my blanket around myself and sat up, saying, "This is Robert, Tyler's business mentor. We're here for a strategy meeting." "A meeting here on Saturday?" "Oh, did Tyler not mention it?" my father asked. Although his tone made it clear he knew Tyler hadn't. "Robert is just here for the day. Tyler is en route." All he needed to do was get everyone lunch. They were situated around my dining table, laying out laptops and papers before I could protest. Already, Robert was bringing out spreadsheets to discuss expansion and market penetration tactics. I began to remark, "Perhaps I should," intending to withdraw to my bedroom. "Don't be dumb," my mother said. "It's also your home. We are related." The term, "we're family," was beginning to sound more like manipulation than friendliness. Tyler showed up carrying bags of food from my favorite neighborhood deli. Eating my normal sandwich felt like accepting a bribe, but at least he purchased it. 3 hours were spent in the meeting. 3 hours of financial predictions and business jargon, with my mom calling me over to look at Tyler's sales graphs every now and then. "Observe this development," she said. "Weekly rise of 20%. How wonderful is your brother?" I muttered something encouraging, but I was fuming on the inside. This was my apartment, my Saturday, and my place to unwind. However, how could I expel them without appearing to be the villain? When they were gone, I went up to Tyler. I told him you couldn't just hold meetings here without permission. He seems truly perplexed. "However, you mentioned that I might use the area for business during weekday business hours, the guest bedroom." "Mike, hurry up. Robert is significant. He has made investments in 3 profitable startups. He wasn't exactly someone I could meet at a coffee shop. I may have been the first to inquire." Tyler's face became stern. "I assumed you wished to assist. Your parents stated you were helpful. The guilt trip was there. Although I gave in, I forced him to swear that we would not meet on the weekends again. That pledge was kept for precisely 1 week. I heard voices in my living room when I woke up the next Saturday. Tyler was there to show 2 possible investors around his business. I had changed my living room to make room for product displays. As I staggered out in my boxers, anticipating no company, he said, "And this is where we do our packaging." The investors appeared uneasy. I felt ashamed. Tyler hardly gave me a nod. He said, "Sorry, that's just my brother," as though I were a bothersome roommate rather than the apartment's owner. The meetings, however, were only the start. The state of the delivery has gotten intolerable. Packages initially arrived during regular mail hours. Tyler then registered for freight delivery services. My building manager called me at work last Tuesday. "A delivery truck says it has a pallet of items for your unit, Mr. Anderson. They require a signer." "A pallet?" I inquired. "Like a pallet made of wood?" "Yes, exactly. It won't fit in the elevator, they claim. I need your permission to let them use the freight entry." To deal with that, I had to leave work early. The guest room and hallway were already packed, so Tyler was there, beaming, telling the delivery men to stack boxes in my foyer. He said, "This is temporary," without looking directly at me. A big order came through. "I'll have it all shipped out by Monday." It's Thursday. The boxes are still there. I have to sideways shuffle to get to my kitchen. And then there's the issue with the client. My address was provided by Tyler as the company address. Why? Compared to mom and dad's suburban address, it looks more professional, he said. My apartment is now teeming with strangers who mistake it for a showroom. A woman arrived last week and insisted on inspecting the yoga mats before making a purchase. Not even Tyler was present. He had left for lunch. As she looked over my shoulder at the boxes showing in my foyer, I had to clumsily clarify that this was a residential building and not a store. Last Friday, Sarah and I had arranged a romantic meal at my house. I had tidied up as much as I could, putting a tablecloth over the packaging station and pushing Tyler's excess stuff into corners. We were about to eat when Tyler contacted us to say he had to hurry over to pick up an urgent order for a VIP customer. He assured me that it would just take 5 minutes. He arrived with our mom. "Oh, Sarah," said Mom. "How lovely to see you. Don't mind us. We're just here on business." They then moved boxes about for 45 minutes in an attempt to find a specific product. Throughout, my mother talked about how fortunate Tyler was to have such a supportive brother and how proud she was of his business drive. Sarah departed early. Since then, she hasn't returned to my apartment. I am unable to unwind there. "It doesn't feel like your home anymore," she informed me. "If you happen to sleep in Tyler's warehouse, it feels like that." She is correct. Not even my personal space makes me feel at ease. I frequently stay late at work in order to avoid having to go home. When I'm at home, I'm always avoiding the packaging station, circling boxes, and acting as though I don't hear Tyler discussing our operations and facilities on his business calls. When I try to talk to my parents, they get defensive right away. My mother claims Tyler is working so hard. "You want him to succeed, don't you?" My father adds, "You have all that space. When your brother is working on something, it seems self-centered to keep it to yourself." They've even begun to insinuate that I ought to give Tyler more freedom to express himself. Last week, my mother mentioned that second bathroom you never use. There, Tyler could keep the lighter stock. Climate control is not necessary for yoga blocks. I quickly put an end to that, but it's clear how far this has progressed that they even brought it up. The monthly installment of $200. I've witnessed it once. Tyler appeared upset when I brought it up to him. I believe that we had outlived such a system of monitoring. "Robert truly liked you," he continued. "I'm family, not a tenant. Besides, consider all the connections you're making through my business." I spent 30 seconds in my underwear with Robert. I'm at my breaking point. 4 months remain until the 6-month mark, and I'm not sure if I can make it that long. But I'll be the bad guy if I throw Tyler out right now. The brother who dashed the hopes of his siblings. The son who prioritized comfort over the prosperity of the family. Something Sarah said keeps coming to mind. "Michael, they're using your generosity. The worst part is that they have persuaded you that you are a bad person for defending yourself." Is she correct? Is someone taking advantage of me? Or am I simply being self-centered and not willing to make sacrifices for my family? I'm not sure anymore. I just know that it can't be true that I dread returning to my own flat. 3 months later, the final update. I had no idea that I would be writing this update. I would have laughed if you had told me 3 months ago that my own parents would be threatening to evict me from my own residence. However, here we are. 2 weeks ago, it all came to a head. Let me first give you an update on how things have become worse. Somehow, things got worse after my last post. Tyler's company was expanding, which meant there would be more shipments, more inventory, and more mayhem. They had turned my whole apartment into a warehouse. My dining table was covered in shipping goods, so I was unable to use it. Product samples were piled high on my kitchen counters. Not even my bedroom was secure. Boxes of resistance bands had been momentarily hidden beneath my bed. The guest bedroom was so crowded that Tyler could no longer even reach his workstation while he reorganized. His entire business had been relocated to my living room, where he had set up a complete office with a second monitor, printer, and filing cabinet that he had brought from our parents' house. He had responded, "This is actually better," to my objections. My neighbors had begun to complain about the frequent deliveries, the goods in the corridor, and the people coming and going, assuming it was a business address. They wanted more space to stretch out. "So, I've been thinking," Tyler began one evening as I attempted to eat dinner standing up in my kitchen, the only open area available, after the building management had already issued me 2 warnings. "This arrangement is working really well," he said 3 weeks ago. "I'll make it longer." "Yes, indefinitely," I said, my fork freezing halfway to my mouth. "I've established a business presence here. I have rights." I almost choked. "Tyler, you're a guest. We had an agreement. It doesn't make sense to move to a warehouse now. The overhead would kill my margins." Besides, he added with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "I've been talking to a lawyer friend since I've been operating my business here for over 3 months, receiving mail, and having an established presence. I'm technically a commercial tenant. You can't just kick me out." I stared at him in shock. "You're joking. I'm not going to let you sabotage everything I've built," he said coldly. "I know you've been jealous since day one. You can't stand that my business is succeeding." "Jealous? Tyler, I can't even sit on my own couch. There are yoga mats where my coffee table used to be," he said, parroting something that sounded suspiciously like our father. "If you had any kind of business vision, you would grasp this." I made my own lawyer's call that evening. The news wasn't good. Tyler's claim of tenant rights was, at best, tenuous, but evicting someone who claimed commercial tenancy could be difficult and costly, especially if they fought it. "Your best bet," the lawyer advised, "is to work it out within the family. Legal battles with relatives rarely end well for anyone, but working it out with family was exactly the problem. Last week, I tried to talk to my parents again, hoping they'd see reason, but I was ambushed. They invited me to Sunday dinner, and when I got there, Tyler was already there with a laptop and a presentation queued up. There was a full family tribunal. My father said, "We're here to discuss the future of Tyler's business," as if it were a board meeting. Tyler then began his presentation, which included revenue projections, growth strategies, and market analysis. The punchline was that he needed to expand his business, and my apartment was the ideal location. He even had architectural plans that showed how he could turn my entire living space into a showroom and fulfillment center, and he generously said, "I'd still let you keep the bedroom, and we could schedule your kitchen access around shipping times." The family was enthralled. My aunt nodded, impressed by the figures. My cousins inquired about investment opportunities, and my parents were beaming with pride. "This is crazy." The room fell silent, and then my mother said, "I'm disappointed in you, Michael. We raised you better than this." Family supports family. I did support him. I gave him 3 months of free space, and look what he's built with that opportunity. My father then said, "Do you really want to be the one who destroys your brother's dreams out of selfishness?" Tyler added, "I'll lose everything if Michael forces me out now. A reliable address is necessary for my suppliers. My clients anticipate reliable service. He would actually be ruining my company." My aunt gave a disapproving shake of her head. "It's unbelievable that you would harm your own brother, Michael." I got up to go, but my father's next statement made me reconsider. "You will be evicting yourself from this family if you proceed with evicting Tyler," he said. "We will not allow you to ruin all of his hard-earned accomplishments." "Are you really saying that this will cause me to be disowned?" Disbelievingly, I asked. My mother added, "We hope it doesn't come to that, but the future of the family lies in Tyler's business. When he grows, he will have already committed to hiring your cousins. Michael, this is more than just you." Without saying another thing, I walked away. A week ago, that was. Since then, my mother has been texting me every day to say that I'm hurting her feelings. Emails from Tyler, including hacked ideas that entail him occupying even more room. A legal letter asserting tenant rights from Tyler's lawyer friend. I received messages from members of my extended family that I haven't spoken to in years, all of whom urged me to act morally. Additionally, my parents sent me a note yesterday threatening to sue me for tussling with business relations if I go ahead with eviction. Tyler apparently persuaded them that I was undermining his business. The kicker: all of Tyler's business registrations have now been updated to use my address. He has been disclosing to clients and vendors that he shares ownership of the business. When a business loan officer phoned to confirm his assets, I learned about it. So, here is my location. I've begun the official eviction process and hired a lawyer. It will likely destroy my relationship with my family and be costly and messy. However, I can no longer live this way. Most nights, I can't even bring myself to go home. I've been staying at Sarah's house to sleep. We are still together, yes. Through all of this chaos, she has been my rock. Despite Tyler's assertions, the attorney says I have a solid case. We have the original contract, evidence that he was only meant to be temporary, and proof that he broke the restrictions by working outside of the designated time and location. Additionally helpful were the building management complaints. The notice of eviction has been delivered to Tyler. There was an instantaneous and severe family explosion. I understand what they're saying, but on the advice of my lawyer, I've blocked the majority of their numbers for the time being. The villain is me, the self-centered sibling who prioritized property over family. The kid who violated the morals of his parents. They might be correct. Perhaps I ought to have simply given Tyler the apartment and moved in with Sarah or sought another place to live. Perhaps family should always come first, no matter what. However, I keep returning to a statement made by my therapist. Yes, this is why I began treatment. Your affection for your family has been turned into a weapon. They have transformed your boundaries into treachery and your generosity into a duty. Love isn't that. Manipulation is what it is. It will take another month or possibly two to complete the eviction process. Tyler is resisting. He still runs his business out of my apartment, of course, but he now gives me a look whenever I visit. My parents will only communicate with me via their attorney. My extended family has mostly joined their cause, but I feel like I can breathe for the first time in months. Even if I still have a long way to go, at least I'm finally advocating for myself, even if it means losing everything else. Regardless of how this is addressed, I'll provide another update. Thank you to everyone who left a supportive note following my previous post. You made it clear to me that I wasn't insane and that it wasn't selfish of me to want to live in peace in my own house. It's acceptable to say no to anyone who is struggling with comparable family boundary concerns. Limits are acceptable as is prioritizing your own health over obligations to your family, even if doing so makes you feel bad. Yes, families should assist one another, but that support shouldn't entail giving up your entire life to support the aspirations of others. I had to learn the lesson the hard way.